trying to find you for over a year. It's an honor to meet the Wolverine.
That's not who I am anymore.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the Wolverine, because Hugh Jackman's been playing this part so long, he is now no longer just Wolverine, he is the Wolverine, because I don't think we're ever going to see anybody else in the part.
No, they're going to like just stop making probably films in general before they like recast him.
And you know what? Going into this movie, I was kind of thinking maybe it would be time for somebody else to step into the shoes of Wolverine. I mean, X-Men Origins Wolverine was terrible, and I really do think that kind of soured me on going into this film. I really wasn't looking forward to this movie, especially after the director of Black Swan,
Darren Aronofsky.
Darren Aronofsky, I couldn't remember his fucking name there. Especially after he dropped out. Because when he got put in the director's chair, I was like, yeah, man, this could be pretty good. And then he dropped out to do Noah's Ark. And after that, I was thinking, oh, man, is this going to end up as another fucking Origins?
It could have easily done so, but...
Yeah, and even the early trailers made me think, oh, man, this just doesn't look all that good. It looks kind of silly. We had First Class, which I loved, but it was an X-Men movie without Wolverine, and it was good, so... I don't know, I was just very, very kind of blasé about this film. I didn't really give a shit about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the only thing that had me like going was we were in a real Hugh Jackman like gold spur at the minute, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's the only reason I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I do like Hugh Jackman.
But also, it's been a while since we've been, like... First Class was a great X-Men film.
I loved it.
To me, it wasn't like... It's not in the same sort of run, you know. It didn't have any familiar characters in, or if it did, they were like really young versions of them. So it was nice to be back with at least like, you know, it's like putting an old pair of shoes back on.
Yeah, familiar territory.
Yeah.
You're kind of right. I mean, obviously, First Class is a different continuity, so much so that they're actually merging the two with the Days of Future Past next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Wolverine, just a quick kind of summary of what the plot is. It's set post X-Men 3, so Wolverine is living a kind of a bit of an isolated life where he's kind of living out in the woods, in the wilderness by himself, and he's guilt-ridden over having to have killed Jean Grey, the love of his life, at the end of X-Men 3. And God, you know when you first see him in this movie, how he's all raggedy and shit with his long hair? He looked like Jean Valjean.
Yeah, I know.
He just kind of wandered off the Les Mis set.
He'd wandered off the Les Mis set after he'd had like a meal.
Yeah,
that was the only difference. He didn't look like he was about to keel over, but the everything else he was identical. That's exactly what I thought.
I expected him to break out into song. But yeah, you kind of open up and he's living in the wilderness, and then one day a young Japanese girl called Yukio catches up with him and basically says that her employer wants to meet with him because they met each other years ago and Wolverine saved his life. And it's revealed in a flashback that Wolverine was at Nagasaki in a Japanese World War II prison camp when the nuclear bomb was dropped on it, and he saves this young officer. And this officer went on to become like the head of the biggest corporation in Japan. He's kind of like the Tony Stark of Japan.
Yeah, and he's all in R&D and like technical research as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, the guy's called Yoshida, and it's Yoshida Industries, and he basically summons Wolverine. He's on his deathbed, and he summons Wolverine to give him, like, a parting gift. And this young girl, Yukio, takes Logan to Japan to meet him. And when he gets there, the guy's like, look, I've been keeping tabs on you. I know that you live in a life of seclusion and guilt, and you've lived for a long time, and you take no pleasure in living. And I'm not ready to die. I have the means of transferring your healing ability to me, so you can live a life and die, and I can go on living and building my empire. And Wolverine basically says, fuck that.
Yeah, he's... You're right, he probably does like think he wants to die at some point, but when the offer's there in front of him, he's like, nah.
And that's what I really liked about this. It wasn't like him brooding about, oh, life's so difficult. No. It was like, you know what? Life is fucking difficult, but fuck that. I want to keep on going living because I'm a badass. And
I'm Wolverine.
Exactly, I'm Wolverine. I can't be killed. I'm going to be the last man standing regardless of what happens. And, so basically, kind of from there, there's a big kind of corporate conspiracy gangster plot emerges about assassinating the Yoshida's granddaughter Mariko, who is his kind of it's Yoshida's kind of favorite. He absolutely dotes on his granddaughter, and there's kind of a big kind of plot about how he's going to leave the company to her, skipping out his son Shinjin, who is played by I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing the names in this review. It's played,
I mean, Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's the only like Western like actor in this as well, isn't he?
Yeah, because the only other kind of white actress in this is Svetlana. God damn, her name, her surname is harder to pronounce than the rest of the Japanese names. Who plays Viper? But yeah, the guy who plays Shinjin is a guy called Hiroyuki Sanada. God damn, I cannot pronounce these names, but he's in a lot of stuff. He's a cool Japanese actor. He's the captain in Sunshine, the Japanese.
I knew I'd seen him before.
And he is also in The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. He's the kind of head of the samurai warriors who was just a complete badass in that film. I really like that guy. And usually he has a beard. And in this he doesn't. And I was sitting there all going through, kind of through the film, I think I recognised him. Is it that guy? Is it? And yeah, it was. So I was happy about that. But he's kind of getting skipped over in the line of succession, and that kind of as he kicks off this kind of plot involving the Yakuza and kind of corporate intrigue and ninja clans and all sorts of crazy.
This is a gangster film.
It is. I mean, that's what I actually really liked about it. There is only 3 mutants in this film, pretty much, and one of them is Wolverine.
Who's the third one? She's got a very weak power. The Japanese girl that comes to find him.
Yeah, Yukio.
It's not even. Is it like I know you're in the X-Men universe, so it's probably implied, but they never say that she's like a mutant. It's like if this was a normal film, she could have just been some sort of like psychic-y person.
I thought they actually touched. I thought they did say she was a mutant. I thought they touched on it. I think it was literally like a throwaway line, but I thought they did.
Possibly, yeah. But what I'm trying to like say was that this wouldn't have looked out of place in sort of like the Japanese mysticism of like a Yakuza film anyway.
Yeah, I mean her power is literally she can see how people she meets are going to die, and she describes the power as being able to look through a keyhole at the scenario that shows them dying, and then the other third mutant is Viper, who's kind of the villain, and she is essentially like a human snake who can shed skin and kind of poison people at will. She's not a nice person.
Yeah. No, but she's not very like.
She's not a very good villain either, though.
No, I think she was unnecessary.
Yeah, she felt like they just thought, oh, we need a super villain in this, so let's just get her, because she's not even the main villain, really.
No, and I think that was what the main villain is kind of absent for a lot of the film.
Yeah, if anything, you kind of Viper shares the spotlight with Shinjin, the father.
Yeah,
who is kind of this like really bitter corporate backstabbing bastard, and I thought he was a better villain than Viper, despite him just being a businessman.
I completely agree. I think that what I really liked about this film was that it didn't really hit too much on the mutant side of things, and it was more of a gangster film. But then just having her in as a poison spitting like mutant, it just felt unnecessary to me, and I feel that
especially with the way the plot kind of goes, because one of the big things with this film is that Wolverine, through some means, gets his powers suppressed, so he can't heal. He can get shot, and it's not going to kill him, but he doesn't like all of a sudden just spring back to life and he's completely all right. He started like he's leaking blood for like 90% of this film all over the place.
Yeah.
And I thought she was the kind of cause of that, but she's not really. You could have had anyone do it.
Yeah.
I think that's a minor spoiler, but it's really worth getting bent out of shape about.
They could have just not had her character at all and just given that bit to someone else.
You could have had ninjas do it.
Yeah.
There's plenty of ninjas kicking about.
There's plenty of ninjas in this film.
But yeah.
Something I thought was really clever was just the fighting style in this is nothing like you've ever seen before, because it's a mixture of like classic martial arts, but then with fucking Wolverine's like
just berserking his way through
balls
people.
Deep, yeah. But then you mix some samurai swords with Wolverine's like claws.
Yeah, and there's some great fights.
Like, why hasn't every X-Men film been set in Japan?
I was thinking that. Like, I thought the Japanese setting was done a real good effect. I really enjoyed it. Even the bits that you could say, well, you could set them in Mon City, but there's a bit set on the bullet train which
Yeah.
is unique to Japan, and that was great. It was just everything about it's used to good effect, if not great effect. And I think some of the fights were great. I thought the fights had a lot more weight to them because of the fact that for most of this film, Wolverine isn't healing, and he does take punches, and he's there's bits early on in the film where he kind of first goes into his first fight after his powers are suppressed, and you can see him thinking, "Fucking hell, I'm really getting hurt here."
Yeah.
And this is
He's-
not good.
It takes him like the very first time he gets hit though. It takes him so long to just realize.
Yeah, he's getting shot and he's kind of thinking, "God damn, that hurts," and trying to keep going. But
Yeah.
eventually he just pauses and he's like, "God damn, I just need a bit of a breather here, lads. just calm down." But yeah, I thought that I really liked the fact that they stepped back away from mutants and supervillains.
I think it was necessary after some of the ridiculous stuff in Origins.
Yes, god damn. I mean, after you had the completely botched Deadpool having
Yeah.
every power going, fighting
Oh,
Wolverine
God.
on top of a nuclear power plant, it's... Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so glad they kind of stepped away from all that. You didn't need it. And you know what? In fact, if there's one thing I thought this film has got some decent action sequences, but they are not the best part of this film. The best part
no.
for me were the bits with Wolverine just kind of being Wolverine and exploring his character a bit more.
I think Wolverine gets more character development in this one than he did in any of Origins.
Yeah, oh god, yes. I mean, let's face it, Origins is awful.
It's a huge misfire.
It is. I'm going to say it's not the worst thing in the world, but it should have been way, way better. I mean, I don't understand how you take a character like Wolverine and fuck it up so badly as that, but this one does things a lot better than that. It's a bit different, as you say. We've been said it's a bit different in that it's got a lack of superpowers. It's more about Wolverine as a character and how he's kind of come to terms with him having to kill Jean Grey, who was the woman he loved, and he's kind of trying to channel his energy into protecting this Mariko girl played by Tao Okamoto.
Okanad. Hottie of the Month.
Hottie of the
And
Month.
you know what? We selected her for Hottie of the Month before I'd seen the film, and I think I agree with you. I think she's gorgeous in this.
She is lovely in this, and I really like it. She used to be a model, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just this girl he feels a kind of need to protect because he's a hero.
He is a hero. But I think the bold move with this film is that they could have set this before any of the X-Men films and just left it loose as to where it hangs in the continuity.
Yeah, well, to be honest, until maybe 2-3 months ago, I thought it was going to be another prequel.
But then the decision to set it after, just to from a continuity side of things, it's a challenge anyway. But you're just putting yourself into having to give him more character stuff to do, because you could have just made this a straight action gangstery film if you'd said it before. But now he's actually got quite a lot of emotional stuff going on, a lot.
Yeah, it's great. It's not, the fact that we've seen all the stuff that's come before, and it happens in this continuity, it gives you a lot more baggage to play with. Whereas if you set it as a prequel, as long as you set it in between when Origins takes place and when X-Men 1 takes place, you've got very free roam over what's going on, because let's face it, at the end of Origins, he loses his memory.
Yeah, so you can do whatever you like.
Exactly, whereas here you give him a bit more meat to play with, as it were, and it works really good. And you know what, you see Hugh Jackman is going, he's going good guns at the moment, from Les Mis to this.
Yeah.
I forgot really how much I actually liked him in the part of Wolverine.
No, I completely agree. And looking back now, it's saying that the Wolverine Origins, X-Men Origins, wasn't that good a film. I still quite enjoyed it while I was watching it, just for him, because he's so good in the part.
I like him, and a lot
I
of people
can't see anyone else doing it. I really can't.
Well, he's not going to let them anyway, but
Oh.
a lot of people are now calling out for somebody else to take over, but I don't think they need to. I still think he's really good, and he really puts in the work to get in shape for these movies.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
As long as he can keep doing them, I want to keep him in the role.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Marvel,
really like
I know that this isn't the Marvel Studios side of things. This is more the Fox side of things. But if they're serious about making this film series all tied together as much as possible, they should just not recast them and lose the character. Because I'd rather just have the memory of Hugh Jackman, because it's perfect.
Yeah, at least in the Fox continuity, if Marvel ever to reacquire it, fair enough, we might be able to get a new cast in. But for the Fox continuity, just leave him alone, man. He's doing a good job. But yeah, Hugh Jackman is really good in this, and I just like the fact that, as I say, all the action scenes had a bit more weight because he can't heal. And there's a great, as things kind of progress, there's a kind of really good sense. There's a great sense of triumph as he kind of overcomes these really difficult fights, and he's getting the hell kicked out of him. And no, I really liked it. One person we haven't really touched on is, well, first of all, there's Tao Okamoto, who's Mariko. We've touched a little bit on her. I thought she was quite good in the part.
When you normally get a model that becomes an actress, especially in their first film, they're not great. I think Transformers 3 is the key example of that.
What was her name?
Oh, who cares? Rosie someone?
Yeah. She's
Rosie Huntington Whiteley, something like that?
Yes, I think you're right.
God, I'm surprised I know that. I'm embarrassed I know that. But I quite liked Toga? What's her name? Tao. I thought she was really good. She was such a sweet person, but she was also quite a strong character, because there's times when Wolverine needs her just as much as she needs him.
Yeah, and I like that. No, I agree with what you're saying. I did like her in the part, but who I particularly liked was Rila Fukushima, who played Yukio, his little kind of samurai sword wielding.
She was so fun.
She was fucking awesome. I really liked her, and she's the strangest looking person.
Oh, I know she is. She's really weird, but I thought she fits in the sort of X-Men world really well.
She has a really cool look. She does look like, it sounds awful to say, but she does look like a mutant. She's got this really pinched face that's very angular, and then she had this fucking ridiculously harsh fringe that just boxed her face up. And she just looks weird, but she's awesome, and I really liked her. She had a lot of charisma, and I thought she had some really badass fight scenes.
Yeah, she really did, but she didn't have as much screen time as I could have standed to have a little bit more of her.
Well, the way this ends with her, I wonder if they're going to put her in Days of Future Past.
Possibly, just right at the beginning.
Possibly, she might have a cameo, but I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'd like her, because she's, her mutant power is pretty useless in terms of being an X-Man.
Yeah, but she's a badass fighter.
Yeah, so she's better than some of the other X-Men without their powers.
Yeah, and the fact that it was toned down meant that she got a lot more time to shine, as it were, because her combat abilities, her action abilities, fit in with the continuity of the world.
Yeah.
She wasn't fighting people who could throw buildings at her or blast her with energy. She was fighting ninjas mainly.
I know, that's what I liked.
Samurai.
You didn't need General Zod to come down and level an entire city to have this emotional connection to the film.
Yeah, it was much better just the kind of, they were essentially sword fights.
Yeah.
Duels, if anything.
There's nothing better than a good sword fight.
No, it's you can pack so much drama into one. It's great. I was also actually quite surprised to see, is it Famke Janssen, who played Jean Grey, come back in kind of dream sequences?
God, the first one of them confused me no end.
I know, I thought this was set after X-Men 3, and they certainly weren't together during the continuity of X-Men. So.
And I was like, is this a sidequel? Is it in a parallel universe where they are together or something? And
maybe this time next year it will be, but...
Yeah, maybe.
But as things stand, no, it's quite good to see her come back in little flashbacks and kind of talk through Wolverine. But goddamn, considering Wolverine's felt so guilty, I thought she was a bitch.
Who?
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey? Well, of course she was.
She was going, oh yeah, Wolverine, you killed me. You should feel guilty, man. You should live a shitty life, and you should just give up and die and come join me. And I was thinking, goddamn, man, you weren't always a bad guy, Jean. Chill out.
Do you think it's only the Phoenix bit that's remained behind or something?
I don't know. I think the writers have certainly channeled it, but I just thought, Jesus Christ, I wouldn't feel guilty at all for killing her. I'd feel guilty for making X-Men 3.
Yeah, I would.
But I wouldn't feel guilty for necessarily killing her. So yeah, I mean, really, I did really dig this film. I love this. Well, sorry, maybe love's a bit of a strong word, but I really enjoyed this far more than I ever anticipated I would. The bits in the trailers, the actiony bits that I thought looked a bit silly, like the bit on the bullet train, actually worked really well in the flow of the entire film.
Considering how fast they were moving, and they could have done something Superman-y stupid with it. It was actually so grounded. There was barely anything happened on the top of that train.
Well, that's probably because he's fighting people. He's not. That again, it comes back to the fact that he's not fighting nothing but he was fighting the Yakuza basically, who are just normal guys with knives. He's not fighting, fucking Magneto or anybody with massive powers. And I just think that again, that coupled with the fact that he is very vulnerable and getting the hell knocked out of him, it just added a lot of weight to these fights.
Yeah.
which is maybe something that's missing from X-Men Origins, because really nothing can hurt Wolverine all that much if Magneto was not on the spot. And
yeah.
so, it's very difficult to get anything that's got any great tension to it. Whereas here, you took that away from him, and yeah, already he can still take a hell of a beating, but there's always a chance something bad might happen. I just thought it worked really well. But if there's one thing I will say about this film is that I think the action climax comes about halfway through the film, and I do think it's the kind of bullet train sequence. I think that is really what is about as climactic as this film gets, and I think the kind of finale fires this storyline off back into silly comic book realms, and it really draws away from what the rest of the film's been about.
Oh, I'll agree with you on that, Kat. I don't think that the ending was a disappointment in terms of like an anticlimax. I think they could have made more of it, but you're completely right that it's not in tone with the rest of the story.
Yeah, it is like something out of Origins, not this movie. It goes straight back into silliness. I didn't really think it was all that great either. It was okay. I just preferred the bits where he was fighting ninjas, he was fighting Yakuza. I didn't really enjoy the big kind of baddie, the big boss baddie, the CGI boss baddie that got wheeled out at the end, and the big kind of revelation that's packed into the ending. I kind of had a feeling from about half an hour into the film that's probably what would happen.
No, yeah. It was the least surprising, dare I say, twist in a film that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was fairly. You could see it pretty much coming, and I thought that maybe the big boss baddie was a bit silly, and I wish things had stayed a bit more grounded. But overall, really, I don't have a lot terrible to say about this film. I enjoyed it. It surpassed my expectations, albeit they were low, but I still think I had a really, really good time with this film.
I'm at the point now where I think I enjoyed this film more than Iron Man 3, the more I think about it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I really do.
Wow, man. God damn, I thought I liked this film more than you, but I don't think I would go quite that far. I think maybe, overall, I think, as I say, the kind of, the climax was a bit silly. I also thought the kind of romantic element was a bit left field. I didn't see it really coming, and I don't think it necessarily works all that well. Because I always saw it more of a father-daughter thing than a romantic thing. And I think it felt a bit forced just to have a love interest, like kind of side plot in there.
Well, fair enough. I can see what you're saying, but I like to see Wolverine getting his end away.
Well, he's...
if anyone can.
It should be him. It's Hugh Jackman. Yeah. He doesn't even need to be Wolverine, to go ahead and do stuff like that. But that's a very minor complaint. I thought it actually worked well. I thought it worked well as far as the chemistry between Hugh Jackman and Tao Okamoto. I'm not even saying that anywhere near right. But as it happened, it felt a bit forced in terms of storyline, the flow of the story. But the chemistry was there. I liked them. I thought they had a cute little relationship. But say this film surprised me. I didn't expect much. Origins was pretty mediocre to terrible. Darren Aronofsky abandoned this early on, which made me believe that it was left to rot essentially. But James Mangold,
James Mangold, who I've really liked James Mangold's films without having realised. The only one I really don't like is Night and Day, which is terrible.
He has made some pretty damn good movies. I mean, he made Copland back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Girl Interrupted. Identity is a strange kind of supernatural thriller.
I liked Identity.
I quite like it. Yeah, it's got some charm to it, and I enjoyed
I enjoyed the first half a lot more than the second half. The setup was a lot better than the revelation.
It feels like a sloppy Stephen King novel. The second half.
It really does, yeah.
But it's still a decent movie. 310 to Yuma is
310 to Yuma is my favourite western I've ever seen.
It's a really good western, and Walk the Line, man. I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's what got me into Johnny Cash, really.
Me too.
I've got so much Johnny Cash on
on the
my
back
music
of that
collection.
film.
Yeah, it's stupid, but he's a really solid director, and I just didn't really bother to look who was actually directing it after Darren Aronofsky, but he did a really good job here, and I can't help but think that he may he might have had a lot to do with how well this kind of turned out.
Oh, I'd completely agree. Because if you were to get in a sloppy director, he probably wouldn't have wanted to make such a complicated film. He was going to boil it down to its action scenes and its like over the top things again.
Yeah, and if anything, the action plays second fiddle here.
Yeah.
I do have one more thing to say about Christ Almighty. You know, when you I just literally had it in my head and I completely forgot what the fuck I was going to say now. Oh yeah, that's it. Sorry. One complaint as well. I got the impression that this film, once upon a time, maybe back in the Darren Aronofsky days, this was going to be a 15.
Yeah, I can easily see that.
And it was scaled back. There's some fucking violent as shit things going on in this movie, and there's just no blood. The thing is though, it's not even that there's no blood. It varies between scene to scene, because sometimes there's tons of blood, and then other times he's like Wolverine is like eviscerating people, pulling samurai swords out of his chest, and there's just fucking nothing there.
Yeah.
It's very inconsistent with how much blood it wants to show, and you can tell it's been maybe scaled back a little bit just to get that 12A certificate.
And you know what? If there's one like X-Men film that you would think, let's just up the rating, it would be this one.
Yeah, Wolverine is not. I mean, he's as much as he's popular with like teenagers. He's a pretty dark character, especially when you put him in his own material, because, you know, he's a guy who's like, he's done some fucked up things in his past, and his power is literally that he can sprout unbreakable claws that can slice through anything, and just tear shit up. He's, you know, you've got...
You put him in the middle of a gangster movie, I was expecting, like, you know, Sopranos level of violence or something.
Yeah, you would kind of expect that, but no, it didn't really seem to make make its mind up.
And he killed a lot of people.
Oh shit! And I was enjoying that, because as much as I love Batman, I was like, you know what? Sometimes it's just fun to have people kill other people. You know, how heroes sometimes need to kill people, and Wolverine does not give a shit. He must kill 30 to 40 people in this movie.
I reckon he probably kills about 30 people in that funeral scene.
Yeah.
He's just like running. He's just taking names, like.
Yeah, he just does not give a shit. He really goes to town in that scene, and it was a lot of fun. I was happy to see that. He just doesn't seem to give a shit, and as things kind of go on through the film, he seems to get worse and worse with his disregard for life. Yeah.
Especially since he doesn't want to be involved at the start, and he's like, yeah, well, you don't want to be involved, Logan? Yeah, you've already killed 9 people.
Might as well go for the full score, you know. But as I say, there's one bit as well with the bloodlessness, that he gets skewered through the heart with a samurai sword.
Yeah.
And he just pulls it out, and it's almost like the skin on the way out wipes it clean, because there's just like not a single drop of blood.
Well, he is healing as it's coming out, I guess.
Yeah, all right, okay, that is how we're retconning it. It's not scaled back for certificate. It's just he's healing. Yeah, there's just some crazy violence going on, but it's kind of sanitized with the lack of blood, which is a shame, because it sounds like I'm a proper sadist here, but, you know, blood and gore add a bit of weight to films. It doesn't have to be over the top, but...
What sort of Japanese, like, Yakuza samurai sword film? Like, can you imagine if Kill Bill didn't have any blood?
Well, exactly. Imagine it. Jesus. I'm not expecting Kill Bill levels of violence, but, you know, goddamn, maybe a bit of splatter here and there. Is it too much to ask for?
Yeah, but I don't like an 18 was unnecessary, but 15 would have been perfect for this, I think.
And let's face it, you can get away with a shit ton in a 15 now.
Yeah, I mean, he used the F word in this one.
3 or 4 times, if...
It was, like, one specifically direct to camera, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa!
Oh, shit.
It was like 6-year-olds I was sat in the cinema with.
Well, you know, you run the risk of 12A. I mean, let's face it, you can get away with a lot in a 12A.
Yeah.
If you play your cards right. 15s, you know, you can pretty much approach any adult subject matter as violently as you want for an 18. You've got to tick some very specific boxes for 18s. I think, I think torture, gratuitous sex, and drug use is pretty much the things that you need to show to get an 18 certificate these days. So it's hard. So yeah, but that's the thing. You can almost triple your money with a 12A certificate. So maybe we'll get an uncut version on DVD.
I'd love that.
I tell you what, if that is a reality, I will be going out and buying that on release.
Me too.
Love this movie. Well, I don't know. I keep saying I love this movie. I may be getting carried away, but I really like this movie. I thought it was one of the more impressive of the summer blockbusters. Maybe because it wasn't really a blockbuster. It was a superhero film I thought was more on character than spectacle. It rekindled my excitement for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. It's rekindled. It's really got me excited for Days of Future Past next year, because there's a post-credit stinger. Not to give anything away, but there's a post-credit stinger that is very good.
It's probably the longest stinger I think I can remember seeing.
Well, you know what we say. This is a 20th Century Fox effort. Maybe Marvel need to take note of how to do stingers because their stingers have been lacking lately.
The one after, what was the last one? Iron Man 3. It was fun, but
yeah, but
completely useless.
Well, that's the
thing. I like to get teased in a stinger.
Well, that's it. You stay to get teased for the next film, so you go out and see it. You know, I just think with Iron Man 3, I don't think they have anything prepared to show you. That was the trouble with that. But yeah, this was a really good stinger, and it was completely unexpected.
Yeah, well, I was expecting something. I was not expecting what they showed on any level.
No, not at all. It's great, but I don't want to spoil it because I think people need to go and see this movie. It's really good. Just one thing, actually, before we give our ratings. Did you see this in 3D?
Yes, I did.
What was the 3D like?
Pretty good, yeah.
Was it worth the extra money or not?
Yeah. Let's get this right. My cinema on a Saturday is ridiculously extortionate. I think I paid £13. And it wasn't worth that. But it would be worth the 3D price at my other cinema I go to.
All right, okay. So the 3D was it gimmicky or was it you?
There was only one gimmicky use. When they were on the train, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Because there's that bit where he's like they're moving so fast, and he throws that guy up in the air. He just instantly flies backwards through the screen. It looked amazing. But that bit wasn't. There's only one gimmicky bit, and that's when the chap's firing one of the arrows.
All right, yeah. I've got to say, as somebody who saw it in 2D, I don't remember seeing anything that made me think, oh, that was made for 3D. So yeah. I don't know. I was wondering because
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't mind the occasional 3D. I begrudge having to pay extra.
I think that it's always used best when you get a sense of scale of things. So especially on that bit at the end as well, when there's that village below the castle thing.
Yes.
And when she's at the top looking down on Wolverine, as he's got all those arrows in his back.
Yeah.
That looked really spectacular. Just as the camera wasn't even moving, but you were God, he's miles below us.
It's that sense of depth and perspective. Yeah, I do know what you mean. I think 3D does work well with that. Well, all right then, okay then. So we've talked quite a lot about this. Actually, we've gone on longer than I anticipated. But what rating would you give this?
Well, I was going to give it a B+, and then spoilers, but we were going to, compromise it in A-. But I think I'll give it an A with you, Ben.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I think I'm giving it A maybe because I was just happy it turned out so well. I think you're right in saying that you were going to give this a B+, because I think this could range between those. But I was just so happy it turned out well. It's got me so excited for X-Men, the next X-Men movie as a whole, that I just think maybe maybe it's bumped up my rating. I enjoyed this way more than I anticipated, and honestly, it's probably one of the better summer blockbusters I've seen this year after a few kind of disappointments or kind of just things I just wasn't all blown away about. Second to Star Trek, probably. Yeah, up there with Iron Man. I don't think it's quite as good as Iron Man.
Okay.
But I still think it's damn good and well worth a watch, and was surprising in how good it was. This is not Origins. This is very much closer to X-Men 2 than it is Origins. So don't let that put you off. This isn't the same. This is, what, Origins, in fact, could exist in its own continuity at this point.
Yeah, I think it's if any of them have been pushed to the side, it's going to be that one. Because they're going to tie First Class to the original 3 and this one together now.
Yeah.
But there's not really much that can tell us about Origins. I think it's just the way I'm looking at the Origins film now is it's telling us all the information we need to know, but it's also wrapped it in. Well, they try to wrap it in an interesting story, whereas maybe in our timeline, it wasn't that interesting. It just happened.
Yeah, it just happened.
Yeah.
And that film didn't. So yeah, okay then. Well, that's become a bit of a surprise. I didn't think we'd be going as high as that overall after our little talk beforehand. But yeah, Wolverine looks like the Wolverine is an A from Screen Hard UK.
Not healing.